Okay, guys, it's been a bit of a while. This is the first podcast for this year, since the new year. We've got a fantastic guest on tonight, someone that came to my gym a few years ago, and everybody loved him. He put people through some absolutely grueling workouts, which people are still talking about. I think they're still in pain from some of them. He lives over in Las Vegas now, and it is Mr. High Intensity himself, Markus Reinhardt. How are we, Markus?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Still recovering from when we went out after when you came to the gym. We carried on a little bit later on, didn't we, then, that night?
It was one of the greatest times I ever had in my life.
Brilliant. It was a good night, that. I enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah.
I don't think the guys in the gym did, though. They never stopped talking about it for days after. The pain they were still in. But yeah, it was a great night. It was a great night. So how are you? You all right?
Yes, I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. I've
brilliant.
Back up my workouts, and been very focused on my career, and yeah, it's been going great. I wish I wouldn't be so much issues with this COVID whole thing, but
it's been tough for everyone, hasn't it? That.
Oh yeah.
Crazy world now. Crazy world. So if it's okay with you, Markus, what we'll do is we'll start off, if it's all right, just sort of getting into how you started your bodybuilding, and then what got you into pushing it further to the point of, doing competitions, etc., if that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, when did I start bodybuilding? I started at the age of 15. I was in Germany, living in Germany. I had a friend of mine that was working out at the gym already, and I got very jealous about the fact he was bigger than I was. He was older than I was, but I was definitely a very athletic kind of guy. I wanted to work out all the time, and something naturally always, I don't know, pushed me towards that. Even at the age of 10, 11, I liked the image of bodybuilding, heroic images of bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Like when movie Conan the Barbarian, for example, came around.
Yeah.
These are Terminator, and that sort of stuff. You get really drawn into that. It's like there's the ultimate hero has muscles.
I think it got a lot of people training movies like that, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was the movies that all started, I think. And the fact that I didn't have a dad when I grew up, so I think I wanted to have I needed some form of a heroic image in my head. I don't know.
I get you. Yeah, I understand that.
My cousin actually was a bodybuilder, and saw that in the family. I'm like, well, I was too young for that at that point. It was like 10 or 11 years of age that this started. But in Germany, bodybuilding is not something that is very much at that time was much very much respected.
Yeah.
Instead of being a low life if you're a bodybuilder in these days.
Right. Yeah. I understand.
So anyway, I went to the gym when I was 15 years old. Got a membership there and started working out. The gym owner saw me as being a potential for bodybuilding shows. He pushed me towards that. And at the age of 17, I competed for the first time. And I placed last. Yeah, but it's a beginning, and I was
absolutely.
I was very proud of myself. I thought I was going to win the whole thing, but I placed dead last. I didn't know how to diet. I didn't have any idea about how to diet properly. I trained every day, 3 hours.
Right.
But
I think we all started out like that. I think we all started out like that, to be honest.
I think we all started like that. It was the typical twice.
It was the Arnold thing, wasn't it? That's what everybody kind of knew.
Around that time, he had coming out too that encyclopedia. I can't even pronounce it. The big book came out.
Yeah, the encyclopedia.
It was a nice book, but I mean, don't know if it's worth reading. I never read the book. Look at the picture.
I think it's worth reading. I just think that, like you say, I think everybody just followed that, and it kind of, I don't know, it probably I'm sure it helped some, but it probably didn't help a lot of others because the volume was a lot for people, wasn't it? Especially if people were like in school or going to work or, how you fit it all in.
I had to find out how to perform the exercise because we had no video. There was no YouTube at that time, obviously. So we had no way of, how do you do an incline press with dumbbells or,
Yeah.
So I had these illustrations inside a book. I ripped them out and I put them against the wall. And then I started doing, I just did 5 sets of each.
Yeah.
It was like 10 exercises. So it was like 50 sets.
Yeah.
Oh, but I eventually got through it and did every day because it had to be done every day, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. And, I did grow muscle. Yeah. I mean,
I think we kind of all do, don't we, when we first start?
Yeah.
Because his intensity is quite low and his body's just not used to it. So it responds to almost anything. It's, if it was as easy as that all the way through, it'd be great.
I think my genetics allowed me to get away with murder.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Very average genetics will kill himself with that program, obviously.
Yeah.
Will not, after about a few months, we'll no longer make any progress with it. So I did pull back in my workouts at the first stages. I mean, I was like 18, 19. I came to a plateau and I met a guy in the gym. He only did 6 sets per muscle group. It was 6 sets. I mean, so 3 exercises, 2 sets each.
Yeah.
And that sounded weird. It sounded like nothing. I'm like, how the hell? And he got strong. I worked out with him and he got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I couldn't believe he was bench pressing 250 when I was like 180 bench press,
Yeah.
Everything by bench press, by the way. He got a lot stronger and I was getting really jealous. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to do exactly what he does and follow him.
Yeah.
And I made another jump and then I became strong again and got strong and he, so, by me reducing the amount of training time, making it more compact, making it more intense, I believe that's what happened at that time. I was, 15, 20, 30 sets sometimes per muscle group down to 6. That helped a lot. I still train every day though. Because, that at that time and age, I mean, I didn't even know what to do with my life, if I wouldn't train. Working out was the highlight of my day. So it was important for me to go to the gym because that's where all my buddies are, that's all my friends are.
Mm-hmm.
That was my life. It was my social life too, not just not just
training.
You would go to the gym in Germany, you would sit around. And in Germany, it's kind of funny because there's smoking areas. I didn't smoke, but there were people smoking around me. There was a smoking lounge in a gym, which is kind of interesting.
Crazy now to think about that.
I still have that, I think. I've noticed that when I was back in Germany, that the Germans are very relaxed about that, which is okay. I mean, smoking doesn't,
you can't imagine it, can you, really, now?
See what?
You can't imagine it now, really, that somebody sort of smoking nearby while you're training.
Oh, weird. Yeah, that's weird. It's disgusting at the beginning of it. I can't stand smoke, but
no, I'm not. I can't stand it either.
So the progress became. I started making more progress again all of a sudden, and that was it. And then at that point, I was working in the gym too. I was the manager of this gym. For a few more years, came across someone from Switzerland who was a cop. He walked into the gym, worked out, and he started talking to me about going to Venice Beach, California, and all that. And he convinced me that to take to get a ticket and go fly out there and check it out. And I did. Once I did that, I returned and told my family that I'm going to go to America. That was it.
Right.
Yeah, I fell in love with the country. This is
Yeah, I mean it's a lovely place as well, and especially when you turn up to Venice and you love bodybuilding as well. Particularly at that time, it was an amazing place to be.
The 90s was a great time to be around the bodybuilding. I think it was a great time.
Yeah, definitely. So is that when you? How long were you there before you sort of run into? Just to let everybody know, Marcus became very good friends with Mike Mentzer and trained under his tutelage as well. The great Mike Mentzer. So when did you sort of run into Mike and change things, Marcus?
Well, it was 90. So I arrived in LA in 91, and 90, 93 or 94 was for the first time when I noticed him in the gym. Then it was 95 or 96, I believe, is when I saw him train a bunch of Asians, like Chinese or Japanese people. He would sometimes train like 5, 6 people at the same time.
Right.
Every 20 minutes, someone else would show up and he'd be out there smoking. Go back smoking. He smokes. He smoked like a chimney. Was out there smoking, getting his next clients, bringing them in, training them, and now the hype was going on because he was training Dorian too. I believe it was. I'm not sure if it was 96, 97, somewhere, but of course I heard the stories and I see the pictures of the results, and I think you'd believe. Remember that the picture of Dorian Yates when he was in his undies next to each other.
Yes, I do. I know exactly which ones you mean.
And I'm like, I saw that, and then I saw that. I'm like, okay, if he can do that to Dorian, I can get bigger too. You know, I'm just gonna, you know. So I knew who he is, but he was always very busy. So I come up to him and say, "I know you, Mike Mentzer, right?" And I'm like, "It's Marcus, and I would like to train with you. Would test this out and see. You know, I know your workouts are very short. I heard." And he said, "Yeah, well, come on in Monday then, and we'll take you through a workout. I'll be at 9 o'clock in the morning." So I'll show up. He's fashionably late. He goes, lights up a cigarette. First thing, lights up a cigarette. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? But I'm like, is he really taking this serious, right? So
where was this, Marcus? Was this at Gold's Gym?
Yeah, at Gold's Gym in Venice. Yeah.
That's
where I trained at Gold's Gym in Venice. That's where kind of like everybody trained. I mean, it was between Gold's Gym, Venice. That's when I trained. I trained my own clients at the time already at Powerhouse Gym across the street.
Okay.
Powerhouse Gym in Venice as well. They closed that down. And I met Mike at Gold's in Venice. Mike was there all day. Mike would be there all day long training people.
Wow.
And it's just, well, and then you meet me up at 9 o'clock on Monday. I'll come in and I remember that we're going to a lake workout. First thing he talks about the lakes. Like,
nice one for your first one.
Like, I don't know, maybe wanted to press me, but I like, okay, it says we're going to go over there and strap yourself into that leg press. It was a Nautilus leg press, a vertical. It was like one of those old school machines that nobody ever used anymore.
And where is it the one where you sort of lay on your back, almost on the floor? That type of one.
You sit in, and it's almost like a box in front of you.
Yeah.
Like
so the actual Nautilus, where you sat in and then you push it sort of away from you. I know exactly which one you mean. Yeah.
Like he strapped me in, and there's a mechanism that you click yourself forward, right? You get really close to the machine. So you say, I want you knees behind your ears, pretty much. You go, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like contortionist kind of thing. But he said, you all the way, full range of motion is all we need. You need full range of motion. I'm like, all right. So I'm doing like a set, 10, 12 repetitions with it, fairly light. I'm like, well, I'm first thing I'm like, it's kind of light there, you know what I mean? I'm like, I spoke too early. Then he put the weight on, and he's like, well, we're gonna make you just feel it, and I want you to go ahead and tell me how heavy that feels. And I'm like, okay, well, and I had that controlled, slow movement. I had that already down. For me, that was something that I just naturally always did. I never believed you should throw a weight around. But at that point, I mean, he even slowed me down a little bit more than I was, and he really taught me how to not unload the load into your joints by extending your legs, for example, when you're doing a leg press where you're fully locking out your knees.
Yeah.
An extension machine, but not on a leg press.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of that either. I figured, after a few reps, I extend my legs fully, and you don't do that. There's not, at no point you should be doing that. And he advised me all that stuff, and he made it a lot harder for me to do the set. And it was almost like I wanted to break out of it and say, look, this is uncomfortable. Well, yeah, it has to be uncomfortable. If you like working out, you're doing it wrong, he said. If you like it's fucking wrong. And I'm like, well, then I started to realize what this really is about. And I swear to God, this is my first workout with him. I go to this set of extensions and presses after the warm up, and I throw up violently at the back. I ran to the bathroom as much as I couldn't run, of course. I was crippled,
hobbling.
I threw up. I started turning real white, and I threw up. That's how much of a stress that was.
Yeah.
Logically, and him standing next to me, him telling me to go further, and he had a way of telling you that is just. I mean, he made you feel like shit. Like he made you feel like a little pussy.
Really?
He used anything psychologically to get you to that level that you haven't been before. That's where, and there was always a new level where I haven't reached. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what he was a master in doing, and that's something that I've never ever seen anywhere done before. Is how he psychologically manipulated me into working out to an intensity that was off the chart, and therefore my body started getting stronger and stronger and stronger each time, and I literally could see myself grow in the mirror. It was absolutely unbelievable. I've never seen that type of growth in my body, except when I first started off training, because of the fact I was so new to lifting weights altogether at the age of 15.
Could I just ask you, Marcus? So when you sort of got into the programs with him, what did your workouts look like, over the course of, say, a week or 2 weeks or however long rest he was giving you? How did it sort of go?
He always, sometimes there was weeks when I only trained twice. Sometimes there was weeks when I trained 3 times, 3 times was about the most.
Yeah.
I would him. There would be, say that we don't have to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It would be Monday and Thursday all of a sudden, It depends. Yeah. He would always ask me how I felt. And if I don't feel right, he would just cancel it. He wouldn't even,
Yeah.
And it was very much like, I don't know, probably heard him say that before. If you're taking a day off, it's not going to hurt you. It's more likely even
to benefit you,
add you to your growth because of the additional time that you have to rest and recuperate. Yeah. Of course, taking more than 2 weeks off or something like that is going to have a negative impact on that. But we're talking about like a day or so when you don't feel right. You don't have to feel like a slave just because you have to go to the gym because it says Monday or Tuesday. Your body, it is. It only, it only has to. You have to be recovered fully, and then only then your body's going to grow further, allow for that growth to take place, which is additional time. Sometimes both few days here and there. Why not?
What were you doing, Marcus? Were you doing something like, say, legs in one session, like, say, pulling another session and pushing another one, or something like that?
Well, he's had me do
I think Mike loved to do chest and back together sometimes, didn't he?
I didn't like that so much. I always liked chest, shoulders, triceps better.
Yeah.
But I did everything the man said, and then everything 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 moved properly. My cows were like really weak in the beginning, and they started getting big because of cow workouts are absolutely brutal. I mean, he would do he would go through like a lot of weight. We use a lot of weight on cows.
Yeah.
The machine piled up with weights and stuff, and ridiculous amounts of weight on shredded shrugs too. For my shrugs are naturally pretty weak. So we did shrugs.
Yeah.
very heavy, like 500 pounds and stuff like that or more.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Gold's Gym had the best environment for that type of training because Gold's Gym was such a large, place, such a humongous gym.
Yeah.
All kinds of equipment in there, hammer strength. They have knowledge. They have really good stuff. I mean, it was great equipment.
I bet a lot of people used to stop and watch you train, though, didn't they? Because when I went to Gold's, and I remember when I spoke to Dorian Yates once, and he said that when he were training in that high intensity manner, the gym used to almost stop to look because nobody else was sort of pushing like that in there.
Yeah, especially but I mean, I think I don't remember really anything about what happened around me when I was training with him.
I don't think you can when you're in that much pain, can you?
I was in so much pain. I was so much agony. I enjoy it truly to work out like that. I enjoy the fact that I was constantly being remembered of how much I did the last time. So he was keeping an exact track of what I was doing.
Right.
He was logging everything. So probably consistently beating my own records. Every time I trained, I was trying to get stronger. And the only way you know that is by keeping a record of it. Most people
of course, yeah.
By what they feel, how their pump is, and all that stuff. That's all unnecessary crap. It's really about how much stronger you can get each time. And I think that, not saying that you will get stronger every time. It's possible, but even if it's not, you're still all in the long run.
Trying.
Yeah, you should be getting stronger. And if you don't have a measurement for that, and if you don't have a number where you can have a reference on, which helps tremendously psychologically in the gym, having that reference number. But also,
I think the thing is, Marcus, as well, like when I've seen you train and I saw you, and seen you on videos training with Mike, I think where people go wrong is that the progressive overload now for some people has become so obsessive that they don't realise that when people like Mike and like yourself spoke about it and trained like that every workout, though, the form had to be as perfect as it was before. There's so many people now think they're getting stronger, but the form's getting more sloppy each week when they're training. They're proud of themselves, they've got an extra rep, but you could have probably got that rep a week before if your form had been, slacker. Whereas I'm assuming Mike was very ensuring every rep you performed was perfect every time. So you knew your muscles were getting bigger because you were getting stronger in that same form.
Well, if you're doing 8 reps at a faster tempo, and all of a sudden because you're doing a fast tempo, you're doing 8 reps versus 6 reps because the faster tempo, the faster rep cadence. So that doesn't really say that you're getting stronger because you're just doing a faster rep.
Absolutely.
Tension that really matters. How long you spend underneath the tension of the weight. So keeping the same exact speed or pretty much exact speed. I mean, it's when he has you train, he just makes sure you don't throw it away. And you that same rhythm, you keep that, you maintain that all the time.
Yeah.
You see how you're progressing in that. And that's the main thing. You don't have to be too anal about it. But I think it's important that you keep the weight very slow, controlled, negative, positive both.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. So what? How many sort of? I'm assuming it probably got less and less, and you had more and more recuperation as time went on, Marcus. But what sort of, when you first started with him, how many sets were you doing per body part at that point?
I would say between 4 to 6 per body part.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that probably came down, did it, over time? So you were doing less and less.
I would do a whole lot less than that. No, but I mean, because you're looking at, it's like a leg workout, for example. We do a set of like a leg press. We did extension, leg press, superset. We did squats. We did leg curls, standing and seated. We did cows. So we did 1 set each.
Yeah.
He would never have me do more than 1 set, except that we're doing warm-up sets for it. Yes.
Of course, yeah.
Psychologically, you're getting ready for a weight. You don't just step in and put the whole load on there. You just get 3 of those lighter sets we did prior to each one of those. So we add it all up. Yeah, we did more than just those 4 sets.
Of course, yeah. Of course, yeah. Yeah.
I don't count the warm up sets as an actual set. I'll only call the working set a set that I'll really go into.
You get a lot of people that say to me, they go, you're training, Craig, where you're saying you're doing 1 set and things, but you're not, because I've seen you do sort of 2 or 3 warm-up sets. But that's exactly what they are, the warm-up sets. There's no massive effort involved. So if people are looking at them as actual sets, I sometimes think, well, how hard are the sets that you're performing? Because if you're seeing me doing that and thinking they're a set, then I don't really feel them a right lot in the sense of effort. I'm just building up to getting ready to do the maximum set.
Yeah.
So it's not included, really. I think that's the mistake with Dorian. People always go to me, they go, well, when I've watched Blood and Guts, it's nonsense. He does about 4 sets on some movements, but it can't go from 1 plate on the bench press to like 4 plates and a 10.
Right.
He'd rip something off, so he's got to prepare to get up to that weight. But he would have never classed them as an actual set. They're just building him up to get ready to do the maximum set.
The mental build-up, that's all. Mental build-up, that's all I'm saying. It's
absolutely.
Be ready for that,
Yeah. Well, so what sort of intensity techniques would he use, Marcus? Because I know, obviously, we sort of train in a similar manner and things, and we know full well when I met you and we had these chats, you can't recover from doing forced reps and negatives and things like that absolutely every workout, every single time. So was it mainly more positive failure most of the time, and then he threw those techniques in?
Well, I was, like I said, I consider myself a genetic freak when it comes to that.
Right.
I would recover from that type of torture.
Okay.
In the early days. Now, if I do that now, hell no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even touch that right now. I don't think at my age I can recover from that at all.
Yeah.
I was only 25 years old, my prime. And we did a lot of forced reps. We did a lot of negative work. We did a lot of static hold work too as well.
Yeah.
He would always say that while he came into the gym, he said to me, like, Marcus, I just know I had a great thing that I've discovered something amazing. It will shock the bodybuilding world. I'm like, what is that, Mike? I just realized that we're all wasting our time lifting weights. What are you talking about? What are you growing up now, man? I'm like, come on, man. He's like, well, there's no reason for us to lift weights at all. All we really have to do is lower them.
Like, or hold them.
Yeah, hold them and lower them only. So he had me do biceps curls on Nautilus curl machine, 1 arm at a time. And he had me hold it, and it had to be lowered very slowly. Takes 8 seconds,
Absolutely brutal as well, that.
Yes. And he pulled it up again for me. Obviously, you can't do it yourself. But on 1 arm, you could, because you could take the other arm and
lift it with, yeah.
But it's kind of annoying to do that. But, here's Mike pulling the weight out for me, showing me progress in strength gains, and my size of my arms went up. I was like, I could curl 120-pound barbell curl. Reps. And I wasn't able to do that. And I'm talking about strict curls.
Yeah, proper reps.
Like really strict curl on the barbell, which is not the best exercise. I just enjoy doing it. The video that I did with Mike Mentzer has a scene in there where I curl the weight, and it's like only 65 pounds or so. And I was, because of the fact the whole video was done in 1 day, I had nothing left of me. That was my.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine as well. So we're all shot in 1 day, that.
I do all that stuff in 1 day.
Wow. I bet you didn't train for about 2 weeks after that, did you?
3 days I couldn't move at all. I wasn't able to get out of bed. And then, I didn't work out for like a whole month or so, I think.
It's funny, because when I did my book, they came to shoot the pictures at the gym. We had to do that all in 1 day.
Of course,
And so I wasn't doing like you did. I wasn't training absolutely full out because they were for pictures. But he still wanted to try and capture, that type of training and how I trained. So there was moments when I was putting effort in, but it were kind of different because we did like, I think on one of them, I think I'm shrugging or something on one of the pictures. And we were using like 200-pound dumbbells. And he were kind of saying, right, Craig, what I want you to do now is hold that at the top for at least 5 seconds in contracted position while I get the right shot. And I had to do it about 10 times. And it was just like you say, we had to shoot everything in that one day. And I was just absolutely ruined for like a week. I was just exhausted.
That's all you need to do.
It's just crazy. But, it was worth doing. But yeah, absolutely. So when you were training full out for that day, it must have been absolutely brutal.
I wasn't expecting any of that to happen. I was just thought I would go to the gym with him and do a few video scenes on the video for something for his video he wanted to do. He kind of surprised me with this. The night before he called me up and said, Marcus, tomorrow you're going to be doing the greatest exercise video in the world. I'm like, what is that? What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I'm like, wow, okay. So I got in. They got a film crew and everything set up. They got like everything, like like a real film production.
Brilliant.
Oh, well, film me when they come in the Jeep. With your Jeep drive in and then walk in the door and all that. All right, that was cool. And yeah, that was a good time. That was great. And then
I bet it was.
I met his brother Ray for the first time. I met him. Okay, I met him before. We had breakfast once together. And
what was Ray like?
Yeah, it's hard to figure him out. He was just very quiet. When a couple times when I see him with Mike, he never said anything. Like literally nothing. He didn't say anything.
Right.
He just there. And Mike would always talk. At the shoot, however, he did talk because we were talking about his dialysis. He was in dialysis and stuff.
Yeah.
And, we talked about that a little bit, and then we talked about some stuff about grip techniques and how to get a better grip and when you work out and sort of like how you like prefers that. Would say that
they both knew so much, didn't they? They both sort of knew so much, didn't they? To do with training and everything else. It was quite extraordinary, really.
They agreed with each other for sure. I think on all that. From what I've understood, they had other difficulties. I'm not sure what they were about, but I don't know. I mean, he never talked a whole lot about him.
To be honest, it's good to talk to you about it though, because I know that you knew him very well and was there in the situation. Because I don't know if you've seen any of it, but on YouTube lately, there's been quite a lot of people coming on and sort of saying that they knew him very well, and then talking not particularly nice about him, Mike. And a lot of people saying that he were crazy towards the end, with the programs they were giving people where they might train, and then it were 5 or 6 days later before they trained again. And it's frustrating for me because I did meet him myself in the early 90s in Gold's in Venice. And he was just a great guy, and he was so intelligent and knew so much. And I really don't like people talking bad about him, to be honest with you.
Right.
It kind of upsets me a lot.
Back in the days, I started training with Mike. I was married at the time.
Yeah.
And me and my wife had issues. When it came down to issues, it was about believe in God and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because at one point said to her that I don't believe in God. She literally kicked me out. And the reason why I said it, because I didn't believe in it, and I still don't. But it was the fact that I spoke to Mike once because Mike was always the kind of guy that wants to listen to you. He'd love to listen to your stuff, and he would love to give you advice. Mm-hmm. If you are within the circle of friends that he considers being close to him, like he would only talk to people that he think are intelligent enough to understand the conversation that he has with them, because he was quite intelligent. Was very intelligent.
Yeah.
He said to me, Marcus, I don't even believe in the belief of God. I asked him for that. And and I was like, okay, well, getting more and more skeptical about the whole thing. But I said to my wife, I don't think I can, because I had a book next to me in the bedroom that would say Objectivism, who needs philosophy who needs it.
Yeah.
And it's an objectivism book that Mike gave to me and said,
Was that by Ayn Rand, that one?
Yeah, he gave it to me and said, read that, and read The Fountainhead. Those are the two things he said to me first. Read The Fountainhead, synchronization with Philosophy Who Needs It by Ayn Rand. And I did, and my wife wasn't very happy about that. She kicked me out on the street, and I had nowhere to go. So I called Mike and I said, I don't know where to go. Well, I'll let you stay at my house. You just have to do the work. You have to work for me. I'm like, okay. I stayed on the couch.
Yeah.
Slept on the couch in his condo. And I did all the mail, like the mail order stuff, his books and stuff. Went to the post office, shipped it out. Make sure everything's, make sure that phone consultations that he had, for example, people in. Sometimes he wouldn't be there because he reads a lot. He would read a lot. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
And he would always be involved in this philosophy stuff. And for me, that was all a really big thing. It was like very intellectual, I would say. It's amazing. But anyway, so I stayed with him quite some time. And I could tell that Mike had a lot of dark issues, dark demons going on there.
Yeah.
He liked to drink.
Yeah.
I never drank any alcohol at that point in my life.
Yeah.
I saw it as being, obviously, being a meathead. Why would you drink alcohol? You're a bodybuilder. I didn't. Yeah. But then, Mike more and more had issues with being, issues being late sometimes for me to even work out, stuff like that. But for the most part of it, he was pretty much there altogether. He was a crazy body. He was eccentric for sure. He was brilliant, for damn sure. He was a great person to be around. He would give you advice, and if you wouldn't know, he would send you somewhere. Like, for example, Mike had a friend of him that helped him out with some issues. I think his name is Rex Dante, and that man is no longer alive. But he was a great philosopher, and he was a great spiritual. He would help you. Like, he would sit through for like a session, like almost like a psychiatrist, like a shrink. But he would help me out. He would help me out with some of the issues I had with relationship issues that I had back then. That would prevent me from really loving myself more and being in control of my destiny, control of my life, my bodybuilding. Because I wanted to be a pro bodybuilder. I wanted to be up to the top,
Yeah.
That never happened.
but you won some natural shows, didn't you?
Well, yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, natural is not out. Most of the stuff is not.
I mean, we had the. I remember we had that conversation when you came over that you sort of said that very few of them, if any, were actually natural.
Here's my honest opinion about myself. The way I view myself as a bodybuilder or whatever is with the genetics that I had, I could have been a much better bodybuilder than I was.
Right.
That's basically sums it all up. Is with the genetics I had, I could have been better than I was if I would have put in more of the effort and more of the dedication that some people out there that don't have the genetics have.
Yeah.
There's people out there that don't have such great genetics. I wouldn't say Dorian had great genetics, but he had a hell of a fucking bodybuilding mind.
Yeah, he had the work ethic, didn't he, to push on.
This man is unstoppable. I don't care what it is, what you put in front of him, he would go on. And see, that's the mind I didn't have. And for that, it's just, I was just blessed with genetics. And even Mike said to me, if you would use your head and would be in the right mind for this, you would be Mr. Olympia. He said to me, I'm like, well, here it is. I doubted myself too much too. And I really didn't work that these guys would put in. I have much respect for all the Olympians out there, like like a Jean-Pierre Fuchs,
Yeah.
you know, like Dorian, of course, and many others that are just not just that are genetics freaks, but they're also. I met Jean-Pierre, for example, a couple of times. He's all the way bodybuilding, 100%.
Yeah.
There's no is this man is a bodybuilder altogether. That's all he does, And once I wasn't that committed. I was always like a wishy-washy a little bit about that. But my genetics allowed me to go far with it, I would say. Further than that.
Could I just ask you, Marcus, did it affect Mike's life a lot from that 1980 Mr. Olympia?
Say that again. What is it? I didn't hear that.
You know the decision that was made in the 1980 Mr. Olympia. Did that affect Mike's life a lot still, even towards the end?
Yes, I think it did.
Yeah.
Because on a weekly basis, when me and Mike were at the house sitting around, it would always end up with this video that he would put into his VHS machine that he would play the Olympia, and he would sit there talking about the events and how much he's look at this post, and then you see how he's not even close to what he would every weekend that would be the case.
Yeah.
It would always be two things we would watch: his video with the Olympia and an old spaghetti western. Spaghetti western shit.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Did he feel he should have won the 80 Olympia, or was it that he was more upset that they'd given it to Arnold?
Yes. He was more upset that they gave it to him. Yes.
Yeah. I thought that. To be fair, I mean, I love Arnold. I'll sit here and absolutely say that, as I do most of these guys. But for me, Mike was unbelievable at that show. And it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think people always say when they talk about him that he was sort of devastated that he didn't win that show. I'm not sure he was. I think he was devastated that he felt that Arnold was given that show, not that he didn't win it himself.
I for example, like Roy Callender a lot.
Yeah, great bodybuilder.
I thought he was pretty outstanding in that show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a few more of them come out quite recently, and spoke about it. People like Boyako, and they've all kind of said, Arnold just wasn't what he needed to be, for that show.
Yeah, it was all rigged, of course.
Yeah. It's sad, isn't it, really? Because I think Mike would have gone on to probably win a few Olympias, wouldn't he, really?
What was probably Mike so hard wasn't, I don't know. I mean, there was issues with him not sleeping. He would be up at night and would scream around and stuff like that. He wouldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep because of that, of course. Yeah. That's when I left. But not because of that, but because of the fact that I had to have my own place again. Yeah. And stuff. He taught me how to rely on myself. That was his main thing,
Yeah.
And back then I was just, I was just upcoming, and then, I was young, and I got myself an apartment again in Venice, and I still trained with him. And I still, at that point, continued. There was a circle of people that were hanging out together. It was me, Amir, Amir, his good buddy, and a few more people that were hanging out in his apartment every weekend. There was sort of like a get together. We had like a pact there, so to speak, and he would always cook some food for us, which always sucked pretty badly. But it was a great time because he would educate us on other things, aspects of just bodybuilding. There wasn't much bodybuilding talk. It was more about politics. It was about life.
Who's the guy, Marcus, that he's done a few videos lately talking about Mike, that he said he lived with Mike for a while as well?
John Hart?
No, it's not him, actually. I can't think of his name, but he said Mike actually moved in with him. Or he moved in with Mike, and he always talks when he's on his video saying that he ended up paying all the bills and things like that. He tells some quite dark stories about him, things that you don't really want to hear. And like I said, it's nice to talk to you because you don't know what the truth is really until you speak to someone that really knew what were going on.
Are you talking about the guy that did that actually, you know, Val Siegel?
No, it's not him. He was a bodybuilder, was the guy. And I can't for the life of me think of his name.
I don't know anybody. I don't know if any bodybuilder at that time.
He was like he said he was like an up and coming bodybuilder, and he ended up training with Mike. And he talked about Mike started back training and started training with him. And he always says he never saw somebody blow up so quickly as Mike did, you know, genetically wise when he started training. But I can't think of his name.
Well, find out for me. I'd like to know who that is because that's very interesting.
I'll definitely find out for you because
that circle.
There's been some horrible stories, you know. We probably shouldn't even go into it on here, really. But, you know, I'm not saying anything that's not been said before. But there were stories of him, like, being homosexual and all sorts of things like that. And it's just, whether true or not, why are people talking about that now?
Absolute nonsense. That's absolutely. Mike loved women, period.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I can guarantee you he did. I'll give you a story right now about women.
Yeah.
Women. That was the only thing that sometimes would stop him from being all there, you know, because he would constantly talk about them.
Yeah, they just talk about things like that and like his recreational drug use and you know, okay, if they need to bring up on a video, you know, that sometimes he need, like you know, you've kind of tinkered on that sometimes he needed a drink or something. That's absolutely fine, but I don't think you need to go into the depths of everything and you know, sometimes you think is some of it even true?
Well,
like, I know you did live with him and everything, so it's great to hear it from you exactly what, you know, he was like.
Well, the thing about I see that happens, Mike, is that he was addicted to some narcotics and alcohol, which was, for myself, I can tell you the same story. It happened to me too. So
yeah,
those are sometimes addiction is an addiction. It sometimes it doesn't really have a root, so to speak, where you could say, well, I'm addicted, because in his case, he was addicted to drugs because of the Arnold dilemma he had with the 80 Olympia. No, I don't think that's the case. I think it was more than that. It could have been already in the family, could have been some issues too. Who knows that? I don't know that. He never talked about that part.
No,
I just drink a lot. And I can tell you from comparing myself to some of the stuff he'd done, I've kind of like went along the same path almost in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt the same sort of like how can I say? You know, you start becoming in the bodybuilding thing. You bodybuild and you become like kind of like outspoken too much. And I was, for my case, I think that for a long time I was a little bit more of an arrogant prick than I should have been.
Right.
And that was also induced with the fact that I was constantly drinking, constantly doing cocaine or whatever it was here and there, you know.
The thing is, though, Marcus, I think as well, you've just hit a good point there. I think the thing with bodybuilding is, though, we get so addicted to something.
Yes,
if you back off on that, a lot of people need to find something else, don't they, to fill that gap a little bit.
Thanks for saying that. Because I think that's what it really is.
I absolutely think that.
I have no big history of drug issues in my family, but I was abusing drugs for quite some time, which led me to a very dark spot in my life over the past years. That I completely sober. I've been sober completely for almost 2.5 years now.
Brilliant. Good.
Any alcohol whatsoever. I don't drink at all. I don't do any drugs. For me, I feel life is a new beginning for me now, and I feel life. I can see how much, I appreciate how much what is life about. You know, like being healthy is the main thing. You know, it's being healthy, having good friends around you, having friends that can back you up when something goes down. Just going outside and smelling the air and seeing the stars above you and all the stuff that we all take for granted. It's something that really important that you take that serious, because it can go anytime, any day.
Absolutely. Life's too short, isn't it?
Right. And And when you do drugs and when you do that stuff, drink drugs, you numb yourself to a point where all that stuff becomes secondary because
Yeah.
always you're chasing for the next drug. When can I get my next fix or whatever it is, right? And
Yeah.
you alienate people. And you don't realize at the time, but the way you speak to people, the way you behave, how you act,
Yeah.
you're drunk and you can't do an interview, or you might be drunk, you can't do a workout,
Yeah.
a lot of clients because of that back then, and
Yeah.
I'll be honest about it. I mean, it's an issue was an issue for me, was an issue for Mike. Mike passed on because mainly I think the drug issues obviously was a tremendous thing, right? That the drinking didn't help,
Yeah.
There was some heart issues in the family, and then you add it all up together, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. I think I just, I've probably, because I still train the same, I still eat the same as I've done for years. I think if I'd have stopped that, God knows what I would have done, because we do have addictive personalities to do this type of thing. I think you're just that type of person. And I think if something's taken away from you in one sense, you have to find something else.
Right.
Just to fill that gap. There's no question about it. And I think it's hard for people that don't have that mindset to understand that.
Well, see, Mike was homeless for a very long time.
All right.
A few years, I believe, he was living in the car at Gold's Gym in the parking lot.
Right.
Right. And when you are homeless, and I can tell you this because I was homeless myself as well.
Yeah.
For what? Not that much time. I had like 3 or 4 months when I was homeless. I was living in the desert in a tent.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yes. I didn't say that to many people, but it was the case. I had no place to go. I put together a tent and I lived out there, and I was abusing drugs. Something that it comes to the territory. I think when you in that position, it comes very naturally for you to do that. And then from there on, it's only downwards. There's no up. It goes further and further and further and further, unless something wakes you up. Something either wakes you up, shakes you, whatever it is. If you're lucky enough to have a friend out there, and in Mike's case, it was the fact that I think that he saw that Dorian was talking about high intensity training and stuff. Yeah. And I think he said, well, here's my chance to maybe get back, with Dorian having him as being an ambassador for what I do.
Yeah.
What I preach. I think that helped him out a lot to get that stability and that sort of security back in his thinking of what can be done now, because you get used to, honestly, you get used to living like a nomad, if I would call it that way, not homeless, but no, a nomad, because you almost feel like it's okay, right?
Yeah, like it's normal.
Yeah, in your head you start making up these things like, oh well, I save so much more money now if I be in a car or being whatever. Yeah. And that's not normal, because it's not normal to live outside like that. I'm sorry, it's not, you can't do anything. You can't shower, you can't clean yourself properly, you can't cook, you can't. No, he's not and constantly have someone knocking on your door about what you doing in this parking lot. And he did this for quite some time. There, not just him, but other people also. It goes in Venice in the parking lot. He came out strong again, when the whole thing, like the whole bodybuilding industry started. Dorian was around, and then there was Muscle Media 2000. Remember that magazine?
I do, yeah.
So he was doing a lot of articles for them. He had this interview that he did there. That was big for him. That was huge. I love that interview. I had those cassettes back then.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you mean. It's a good interview, that.
Yeah, because all those cassette tapes that he had back then, on high intensity training and the proper thinking. I had these tapes, and that was before I started training with him. I listened to it already, so I knew what to prepare for. I not quite in a sense that because you don't understand how hard it is to train like this until you do it. Yeah. Listen to it on a radio broadcast or on a watching on YouTube or whatever. It's not the same unless you have someone standing over you like a Mike Mentzer that tells you what the fuck is up, you know?
This is why some of the YouTube videos we've done, we've had comments like, I've trained on some of the videos and we've had comments back, going, it's just ridiculous, one set and things like that. But when you're in that moment of doing that set, if you've never pushed yourself to that level, no one's got any clue how hard that actually is. And you can't explain to people that you can't do much work because the intensity is so high that, when people, it drives me crazy at the moment when all these studies are coming out saying, more volume's the answer, but it is okay sometimes to train to failure and bits and bobs. And then you see these people that have done the studies, and I've seen them on the videos going, okay, well, I'm going to do this set to failure now because it's my last set, and I'll do that, then we'll move on. The 7 or 8 reps off what real failure is. So if that was done in the study, well, of course you're going to need more volume because your intensity is not high enough. So that's why I don't believe in a lot of the people always say to me, well, recent studies say, Craig, that I should be doing more volume. Yeah, but how many people, like you're talking about, Marcus, when they do a study, are really being pushed like you were by Mike of what real high intensity is? They're not. No one's doing that.
Well, Mike always had something to say about the one set, the theory, so to speak, where people would make fun of it. They would make fun of Mike. They would make fun of Mike when he was training people. There was one particular time I do remember that what had happened was that I was in the gym and working out. We're doing chest or whatever it was. I think it's chest. And Flex Wheeler was there, and Flex Wheeler's training partner. His name was Rico.
I know exactly what you mean. So we're on some of his videos.
Yeah, well, Rico was always kind of like, he was a cool guy, but he was always like smart ass, a bit.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, it's Mike over there. Look at him, he's doing one set. That's ha ha ha. Making fun of it, right?
Yeah.
Mike would say, Rico, it only took one sperm to produce your dumb ass.
Do you know when I met him? Sorry, go on.
And it only took one fucking bullet to kill you.
Yeah, I know. When I met him in Gold's gym. It's all, I won't talk about it too much here because it's about you. But I was training in Gold's gym, and actually, I'll never forget. I was doing a set of dumbbell flies, and I was obviously doing them to failure because that's how I trained. And I sat up, and literally just stood in front of me was Mike, which obviously were one of my heroes as well. So I nearly fell off the bench. And his first words to me were, "I see you doing high intensity style flies." And we went outside and chatted literally for about 2 hours. But he just made me laugh so much because as we were walking through the gym, there was people like Flex Wheeler, and he just kept saying little things like, "Imagine how good he looks if he trained with me." How good he actually could be.
He say that he would be very he would just like beat everybody to the punch. Like everybody had like something to say. He would definitely
have an answer.
Sarcastically destroy you. He was very, very like whatever he said. He didn't say that much, but what he said was very meaningful.
Yes.
It really hits you hard, whether it was motivational in the gym, even in life, like I said, it was just the gym advice that he gave me. This man gave me life advice that really, I think that changed my life around because I was no longer that kid that walked behind, tried to follow the herd. I was now becoming an individual.
Yeah.
And that I can do this myself with my own head, on my shoulders. I can believe I can just put the right amount of effort into it and, intelligently plan something versus just going all over the place and try to aim at it, whatever, So that was great. And I made some great progress with this.
So when you were training like that, Marcus, because I know we spoke about this when you came over, but obviously for the people listening, what did he change when it came to the nutrition side for you?
Oh, he was just always very much about very basic nutritional guidelines. And as you know, the carbohydrates being at 65% carbohydrates and that sort of thing, where he would not go and do high protein, high fat, and that sort of. He would be. It's about calories in versus calories out.
Yeah.
You'd say if I don't care if you eating a pound of sugar, you're not going to get fat if you eat below your calorie maintenance levels. And it's, you don't. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't suggest you eating a pound of sugar every day. I would say that you don't have to worry so much about being so, being so anal about having high enough proteins and low carbs or whatever. No, he would eat carbohydrates and eat your rice, eat your pasta.
So what would a typical day of eating look like for you? Say, if you could give us a typical day, say off season to grow, and then a typical day maybe pre-contest.
See, that's where the terrible behavior, the habits of mine are like, off season, I don't care, I eat whatever, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Only food though. Now, especially nowadays, I like to eat healthy food. So I mean, brown rice, chicken, salmon, fish, salads, and vegetables. And I would eat that every day. Back then, I would eat a lot of processed stuff too. I love those, burritos, especially in California, they're huge. Everybody has burritos everywhere. I eat burritos all day, and that's what I eat because of the cheese inside of it, and and most of this, the tortillas and all that stuff. It's not something you really want to eat as a bodybuilder. I think that you want to stick to very, very whole, unprocessed carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Not, but we're talking about brown rice.
Because he was a big carbohydrate guy, wasn't he?
Well, sweet potatoes became something that was very popular back in those 90s. I'd never seen the sweet potato. I didn't even know what exists, the sweet potato.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have many of those in Europe either. But a yam or a sweet potato, I don't know what the hell that was. I looked at it. I'm like, the first time I ate it, I'm like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
So I would eat sweet potatoes all day long,
Right.
And Gold's Gym, there was a place, I don't remember the name right now. There was the Firehouse restaurant we used to go to.
Yeah.
And another place next to or across from Gold's, a little bit further down the road, next to where the Max Muscle store was or is. I'm sure it's still there.
Yep.
But there was a little cafe, and they would make you these like brown rice dishes with turkey, and it had a little bit of like a sweet sauce to it, but not too terribly bad. We just thought we try to avoid all the dressings and stuff like that, the ketchup. Ketchup is good for everything, right? But I mean, if you start adding up ketchup all day long, it's not going to be a good thing either. But I would eat chicken there, of course. And it's always like the way they make them, you just can't do it as well as they did,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Plus, I was naturally lazy. I didn't like cooking and all that stuff. So I wanted to just go in, have my meal, and, that's the part because in bodybuilding, you really have to be very, very, very important for you to be very strict about your meals.
Yeah.
Eating enough food and eating the right food, the right proportions, and eating frequently enough. And that's important, is to eat frequently enough, not to lack. Every 5-6 hours you end up eating a meal. So I think that the whole every 3-hour deal, that's something that really helped me a lot. It shows every time I do that how I look better, bigger, leaner, and I tend to not eat so much crap, because if you wait too long and you're hungry, your decisions are going to be like, oh shit, let's go and put.
Yeah, exactly. So when you dieted for shows with him, were you still high carbohydrate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You just lowered the calories.
Yes, I lowered my calories. My portions.
Yeah, I remember going back to when I met him as well. I had a little conversation with him about that, and a lot of guys at that time were obviously, and still do now, sometimes go very, very low carb. And I remember him saying to me, he says, if you're dieting for a contest, he said all he really advised was you ate the same as off season. You just ate smaller amounts. You didn't change the ratios.
But well, if I would say if I eat the same as off season, it would. That means for me that I would always put in pizza and junk food. Now,
Yeah,
literally just
yeah,
less amount of it. But I don't want to sit here and eat a small, little, tiny piece of pizza. I'm not going to do that
yeah,
because it's going to be all or nothing, right? I eat the
Yeah.
whole pot, right? If I
Yeah.
can't have a whole pie of pizza, then I'm just a pig when it comes to that, right? So I eat my foods like my brown rice and my yam because I can't eat so much more of it and still fill out the amount of calories or be right around that where I need to be. And I would say in my case I would be 1,800 calories or so, and then lower them. I would lower them to about 1,400 calories all the way through.
So I suppose if your carbohydrates were that high still, then your protein won't have been overly a lot, really, will it?
Oh yeah, and it never hurt me ever. No.
No. Well, the thing is, people forget that carbohydrates are protein sparing as well, aren't they? So if your carbs are high, your body is able to just utilize the protein for what it requires it for. The problem is if your carbs are too low, your body's having to utilize some of the protein for other processes.
Correct. And the thing about it is that when I eat little carbohydrates, I have absolutely no energy to train.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Your workouts suffer, and people forget about that. It's still being great in the gym is going to make a big difference as you're approaching your contest.
Here's the way I look at it. If you eating low calories, and then HIIT is your best friend. Period. Why? Because it doesn't burn up a lot of calories or use a lot of. You have more recovery time. You train harder. You train less frequently, but you can recover from your workouts. You can maintain your muscles. You might even gain some, but very unlikely because it's such a low calorie intake. Yeah. But with higher carbs, you're sure that your body is full of glycogen.
Yeah.
So you recover faster or recover at all. Plus, your muscles doesn't look like a flat tire.
Well, you know, people forget that you need carbohydrates for high intensity muscular contractions, don't you? You know, to be optimal. So obviously, if they're really low, it kind of doesn't make sense a lot of the time, simply because the workouts, like you say, suffer so much. And if you're unable to perform good in the gym, then your body's not going to look that great by the time the contest comes around.
I haven't seen one body that looks good on very low carbs.
Yeah.
On very low carbs. No.
Yeah.
Like low carb, 200 grams a day, that's low. And but that's low. But anybody goes like 50 grams of carbs something like that or less than that, no.
Yeah. It is crazy, isn't it? What did he? Not whether Mike or yourself. Did he recommend, or did you do any yourself? Did you do cardiovascular work at all?
I did personally because I like doing it.
Was it just steady state?
Would sit on the bike, the recumbent bike.
Yeah.
I would up with gold ship, and I would look down because I always wanted to see who comes in. It was all a freak show anyway, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what did you do, like sort of 30, 40 minutes or something?
After like 30 minutes or so, I would sit on the bike.
And how often would you do that, Marcus, for a contest?
Well, I would do it sometimes on my off days. I would say maybe 4 times a week.
Okay. Yeah.
I like doing it. I mean, it doesn't really, it didn't really affect me or anything like this. Did it help me to burn fat? Probably not. But, help building fat is eating less. That's it. It's diet.
Yeah. So I know obviously you won a few of the natural contests, didn't you? But I know when we spoke, you said that most of the guys probably weren't really natural.
Yes, I won my weight division in Musclemania light heavyweight championships. Thousands. I was it's probably the best condition I've been ever. Well, I was kind of scared. I was 198 only.
Right.
Very low body weight. But I was pretty hard, very ripped. And I was
in condition, and that's what makes the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, I was conditioned as conditioned as I could have been naturally.
Yeah.
I was at the time natural, and when I say at the time natural, I mean there's times when I used some drugs, enhancing drugs that but I wasn't competing at the time. There was times when I did compete, and I realized at one point that I'm actually being part of a lie.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that anymore. So I came out with that. I had a little YouTube video I put together, and I spoke out about the fact that I think that if you think you're natural and you go into these shows, and you actually are natural, you're probably the only one that is.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, there's still some drug use. Maybe not as much, but there's still some.
What do you think? Just to break you off on something, because it's a bit. I couldn't care less, to be honest. But it's just a big talk at the moment. I don't know if you may even know him, but what about Mike O'Hearn and him saying that he's natural?
I know Mike. I know Mike pretty well from
Yeah.
both. The good guy. Is he natural? I don't know. I mean, it's very likely he's natural. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to say the guy. I respect the guy. It's just that it's very likely at this age.
It's like you've just been talking about. He's a very dedicated human being, isn't he?
Also very dedicated, extremely dedicated.
Yeah.
But again, we all, you being in this business for a long time, me being there for over 30 years, you get an eye for what looks like natural and what doesn't. And for 99% of the time, when I see someone they use drugs, I know they use drugs. It's gonna be,
Do you think, seeing Mike, that he's not?
I think he's using some,
A little bit of something.
Yes.
Yeah. I think most people feel that way.
I also think that people should not be. Well, I'm not sure. Lately, haven't really been around the scene, like I said, and I haven't seen what he's up to or anything like this. But I can imagine he's probably still top, big and muscular and all that.
Well, I mean, he's I think he's 53, and he's still a really big guy. He went up, I think during COVID, he went up to one of his heaviest off-season body weights of about, I think he went up to something like 320.
Oh, yeah.
And then came back down to about 270, which is, it's a hell of a big guy, isn't it, naturally?
Yeah, he's strong as hell.
Yeah, he's very strong. Yeah, but, it's difficult, the last thing I would do is sit here and say that he's not. If he says he's not natural, then that's fair enough. But I get your point as well, that sometimes when you look at individuals, it's quite hard to believe, isn't it?
Like if I say that you look natural, that means pretty much you look like shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Just a nicer way of putting it.
Brilliant. You look natural, bro. I'm like, what?
Brilliant.
And I'm like, oh, I'm natural. Okay.
So what did you, as we talked
for very long? Yeah, go ahead.
So coming towards the end now, because obviously I'll tell people that off air you sort of agreed that you'd come back on at some point, which will be fantastic. So we'll just get the basics from you, as we always do the first interview today, and then we'll bring you back on with other people, and we can have some really good, I'm sure there's some great bodybuilding stories that you have and things, and we can sort of talk about all that. So what sort of happened when you sort of finished the bodybuilding a little bit? Because I know was that when you went to Vegas at that point?
I arrived here 2003. Again, I couldn't stand the high cost of living in LA anymore. And honestly, the 90s were over. The bodybuilding was not as cool as it was at that time anymore. And I always liked Las Vegas. It would even be either Florida or Las Vegas. And then I'm glad I did Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It's too humid. So I drove out here, and I started building up clientele here, training people. You don't have Gold's Gym here anymore in Las Vegas. It now became EOS Gym.
Right.
And the Gold's is gone. But I was at the Gold's Gym in Las Vegas on Sahara Boulevard. That was right walking distance from the place I was renting out. And within short term, like within 2 months or so, I had like a few clients, then it started coming back together,
Yeah.
But I was doing a lot of odd jobs here in Las Vegas. I was working at the Mail Review as a host, walking, people into the door, ladies at a Chippendale show.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
That was,
remember you talking about
that was hilarious. I was doing that. I was doing like event work where, in Vegas, there's always these expos.
that. Yeah.
And there would be an expo every month. There would be a different expo, and
Yeah.
they would people that staff just to go in there, be models or whatever it is. And they would pay really good money, like really good money.
Right. Because a lot of bodybuilders moved to Vegas, didn't they? Like Jay Cutler and people moved to Vegas.
They kind of live here, yeah.
Flex Lewis has opened his gym there as well, hasn't he?
I don't know.
Dragon's Lair, it's called.
Yeah, I heard about that gym, and I wanted to visit it. I haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah, a lot of pro bodybuilders have moved over that way now. It seems to be like you just said, to be honest. A lot now are either doing the Florida thing or the Vegas thing. That's where everybody seems to be going at the moment in the bodybuilding scene.
Yeah, I mean that gym is about 10 miles away from here. 5 or 10 miles away from where I'm at right now. I'm gonna check it out for sure. I've seen some videos of Flex Wheeler training someone in there.
Yeah, they all seem to be going there, to be honest, at the moment. Yeah, there's a lot training in there. And Flex, I've met Flex before. Flex is a great guy.
Great guy.
So it'd be good, it'd be good for you to go in there and train.
Being like, with the Olympia, having the Olympia out here for a while now, it's no longer, but
is it coming back? Is it coming back this year to Vegas?
I heard that.
I heard a rumor it was. I don't know 100%, but I did hear that it's possibly coming back this year.
Yeah.
It's in December this year.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's December. They've moved it to December now, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. As far as I'm aware, anyway, that's what they've said. It's going to be later this year.
I enjoy going to the expo.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah. That's the best bit, really.
I love people watching. I get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
And of course, old friends from Venice, because all the peeps from Venice, they come here, Yeah. And Venice is my stomping grounds. That's where I grew up, so to speak, in this country.
So you'd know most of them, wouldn't you?
I had a lot of things that happened. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know, not personally know so well, but you have the gym. There's gym friends. The gym was all my life. I mean, going back to Mentzer telling me I only work out 20 minutes 3 times a week or so, it was like catastrophic for me, because what am I going to do with my life? I have nothing.
Yeah.
My life is gym. I want to be there. I want to meet my friends and hang out, and then we'd go to the firehouse. They would sit there for hours, just sit there and talk.
Yeah.
About do bodybuilding things and this and that, and it was bodybuilding.
How did people that were doing that then, Marcus, make a living? Because all they seemed to do were train and eat. And you just think, what were they doing, to me? I know some of the sponsored athletes, fair enough, but
we all did something on the side.
Yeah.
I think that, I was trying to be an actor.
All right.
I can't act for shit.
At least you're honest.
I was doing a lot of commercial stuff. I was doing a bunch of spots that I paid pretty well for. Some of them they ran in Germany I did a tire commercial once. Dunlop Tire. So a lot of acting jobs, modeling, acting stuff. People survive on that. Some had sugar daddies, sugar mamas.
Nice.
Well, if you're down with that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
And I had a job. I was working at a security company, Proactive Security, and that was my job. I had it was in the Marina del Rey, and Marina del Rey was very close to where Mike lived. He lived in Playa, and on Marina as well. But then Venice was in Venice. The go-to was in Venice.
Yeah.
And everything is very close together, right? So I had a job as a security guard. I was basically a flashlight cop.
Right.
Like Paul
Paul Blart. Yeah.
Yeah,
At
I
least
was like,
if
right?
that helps you to live the lifestyle that you were doing, though, then that's great, isn't it? That's all you needed.
All I did was bodybuilding work. I would go to work, and sometimes I would because I was working at a mall, and then later on I had a job at Marriott hotels as a security loss prevention officer, and
Right.
I was with a gym inside the hotel, and I would undress and would go in there and work out. And sometimes because I felt like I needed to work out extra, do cardio, whatever it is. I felt
Yeah.
like I I was living. I was not making a whole lot of money, but I was enough money for me to get my apartment, get my food,
Living a good life.
buy my egg whites and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't living a good life. I was living a bodybuilder that's crunching the numbers every month, of course, in order to get the
Yeah.
food. And those extra acting jobs that I had, or modeling jobs I had, they would give me another $200-$300, $500 here and there. So I would add up to being enough to survive.
Yeah. Which is all that, I mean, you were living sort of an amazing, so that's the thing, isn't it, really? As long as it were providing that you could eat properly and train, then that's kind
That's
of
all
what
I had. Membership, enough for food, enough to have an apartment, which was back then affordable still. It was only like $6-7 a month.
Yeah.
Nowadays, get it. You can't go that.
No. Oh, well, no. I can imagine. No, it's like that over here. It's crazy now.
I mean, it's not that the cost of living went up. The cost of living went up, but not that anybody would make a whole lot more money. And
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
then I started working for Powerhouse Gym in Venice. That was my main job. Then I said I met the owner of Powerhouse Gym, the one that opened up in Venice, and he walked into a chicken restaurant. We had grilled chicken. They make these grilled chicken there.
Right.
I used to go every day to get my chicken, right? And I was on my security job, and I would walk in, and I would look big in my outfit, I would, could see I
Yeah.
was a kid. And he said, "Hey man, you want to make some extra money?" He goes, "I'm like, what is that?" "Well, we're gonna put the dumbbells into the gym. We have the 200-pound dumbbells in there, stuff like that, right?" I'm like, "Can you lift that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can lift it." I pay you some money to help me put those into the gym. We need some extra people.
Yeah.
So I'm there and like, wow, this is cool. Like right next to Gold's Gym. I'm like, how do you open up gym up next to Gold's Gym and make money? Like, well, I'm gonna fucking show these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a lot of people came to Powerhouse because there was another spot.
Yeah.
And that's I met Gary. I met Gary Stridham there.
Yeah.
He'd live upstairs from the gym.
All right.
And
he had a good physique.
oh, fucking amazing.
Yeah, he was a big guy.
I was amazing guy. Amazing guy. And then Gary, everything starts networking. Gary comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, you look cool. I want you to be in my catalog." I'm like, "What is that?" "Oh, Crazy Wear clothing. Those baggy clothes they used to have, right?"
Yeah, I remember those catalogs actually. Thinking about it, yeah, I'd never put two and two together that you was in them, but everybody were wearing that stuff then.
Yeah, I was in most of those catalogs as a model. Yeah, I was.
Right.
Yeah, look at. If you look through them, you're like, "Oh God, there he is." Well, Gary was always very, very fond of me. He's like, good guy, lived upstairs. We used to hang out and we do a shoot together. Like with all the models, he would bring people in, very professional. And his for all this clothing, all this factory thing, whatever, right? His warehouse. Sorry, now that's the word I'm looking for. Warehouse. So at the warehouse, we would all sit down and we'd get shoots done with all the clothing, and he would give us free clothes. He'd give us pay some money, get us food. It was great. He was very, 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 very cool dude. I mean,
nice life.
I never seen anybody as ripped and big as Gary Stridham. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he was good. He was good one. Yeah, I have met him, and he was a big guy. And I don't think people appreciate how good he was.
Very professional. Very professional. So
yeah, most definitely.
He's on my Facebook too. I just sent him a message the other day. He goes, "Hey, what's up, guy?" I'm like, "Oh, it's been such a long time, And he probably still looks the same way.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great if you could convince him to come on.
I think he will.
If you ever speak to him, it would be amazing to have him on a podcast. And obviously, we could do one with you guys on together as well at some point. That'd be brilliant.
Oh yeah, we definitely have some stories together. I mean,
Yeah, I would imagine that'd be great. If you ever speak to him at all, that'd be great. If we could try and work it to get him on.
So what I'll do is I'll just tell him that to get in touch with you.
Yeah, brilliant. That'd be great. And then, like I said, we can set one up with both you guys on there, and maybe some other people as well, because that's the plan, to start doing the multi-podcasts. So to move on now, then, so I know we were talking off air that you're now possibly thinking of doing a bit of sort of truck driving and things like that over there, because you enjoy that, and they're desperately looking for drivers like they are in this country.
Yes, I think it'll be something that I want to try out for a while.
Yeah.
I have I've always wanted to be a truck driver. So my dad was one. So that's definitely something I would like to consider doing. I have I'll get my CDL in the next couple of weeks. There's a class I'm taking for that. You got it. So
yeah,
they give you all the tutoring for it, and they give you the hands-on experience with the trucks. So you can get your own CDL without the driving experience, but you have to rent the truck somewhere. I'm not going to be able to do that. So plus, to get a job, you have to have some experience behind the wheel.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to get with this course.
Yes. Yeah.
So
what will you be doing, Marcus? Will it be quite local to Vegas, or will you be sort of going countrywide?
It'll be local for a while.
Yeah.
My whole my whole thing is the long haul trucks is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because naturally, I think honestly, I am a little bit of a nomad myself. I really like living on the road.
Yeah.
I like joy being not tied down to an apartment or a house.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I get you completely. But you are saying to me that you're thinking of possibly going back home to Germany at some point.
Then I would probably do that. But I like to be close to my family eventually, and that's my thing for the future. But for now, instantly, like right now, I don't want to train people so much.
Yes.
Online coaching, yes, but not in the gym. It's just the conditions are just too bad right now with COVID and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
are you doing more online things now then?
I like doing online stuff. I really want to focus on doing online consulting more.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do.
And then another thing is that I haven't mentioned that is because that 2 years ago, I realized that I can draw.
Yeah, you do some amazing drawings. You've been posting some, haven't you?
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, really good.
The company came out of nowhere, right? I had a dog for 13 years that passed away, and when I had to bury him myself in the desert, and when I go to his grave on the weekend, I would put a little crescent on his grave because he was like my son to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can imagine.
And one night, go to his grave, and I didn't have anything to give him, so I made a picture of him on a piece of paper with a pen. And I didn't know how to draw, but when I did the picture, it was so awesome, it was so real that my family said that there's no way you drew that. I'm like, no, I did. And that's when I started drawing more, and I did a portrait of my sister, and I also did some stuff with Mike Mentzer too.
Yeah.
I want
to you definitely need to keep that up, because there's an unbelievable talent there.
Yeah, I put a little website together where I put my my art pieces on there too. So
cool. So if people want to get in touch with you or just follow you or anything like that, where do they go about doing that, Marcus? What's the best place?
Just go to my website, the Mr. Hit Las Vegas.
Okay. And so if anybody's wanting to get in touch with Marcus for online or anything like that, or even maybe buy some of his artwork, get yourself on there and he will get back to you over that. So I think we'll end it here, Marcus, I think, because that's been a great interview. And like I say, we 100% going to get you back on so we can go through some more crazy stories and talk a little bit more about bodybuilding. But thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for being so honest. And it has been a pleasure to speak to you, because it's been too long since we've spoke. So please take care of yourself, and we'll get you back on as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you, Greg. Okay. Awesome.
Thank you, mate. Take care. Thanks, Marcus.